Maushold has invaded my household, and also the Gen 9 ladder. In front of me right now is a pretty solid looking team built by VicBossMG, who is actually one of my patrons. This team hit number 4 on the ladder, a very impressive result. But one Pokemon stands out among these 6 as a little bit of an unusual choice. I'm talking of course about Maushold. Maushold is one of my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon, to be honest. I think it's really funny. It's got a simple but cute design, a great name, and it has 2 really awesome signature moves. Tidy Up is the first one, a move that has a Dragon Dance effect of increasing your attack and speed by 1 stage, and it removes substitutes and hazards from the field. Obviously, combining Dragon Dance and hazard removal in one is amazing, and this is one of the only hazard removal effects that actually works against Gholdengo. Since it's not directly targeting the enemy, Gholdengo can't stop it. And the other signature move of Maushold is Population Bomb, which is a ridiculous move. It's a 10-hit move, it can hit 10 times. And with the Technician boost, each of these hits has 30 power, 30 times 10, effectively 300 power. This is an enormous nuke. But the downside of this move is that if any of the hits miss, the move stops. If you hit 3 hits of this, and then the 4th one misses, you don't hit anymore. 90 accuracy is quite good, but with 10 chances to miss, the odds are not really in your favor, which is why Maushold commonly uses the Wide Lens item to increase accuracy and hit as many times as possible with Population Bomb. Now this may sound fantastic, but there's a catch, and the catch is that Maushold's stats are very bad. It does have a solid speed stat of 111 base, but everything else is very average. 75 base attack in particular is not impressive, and despite its great advantages, in the OU format it's a bit difficult for Maushold to actually function. Usually if you're an extremely frail wall breaker type Pokemon, you need to make up for it by being extremely threatening to a wide portion of the metagame. Think of something like Crawdaunt. Even though Crawdaunt is very difficult to get onto the field, once you do get it onto the field, you're probably going to earn a KO. And it makes up for its low speed with Aqua Jet. It has a great stab combination. It's overall very threatening, and very little Pokemon can actually switch in against this guy safely. So it makes up for its frailty in that sense. Maushold, on the other hand, is extremely frail, and its source of damage is not from its attack stat, it's from the high power of its stab Population Bomb. And normal stab is quite limited, it's not a very spammable type. Ghost types and steel types are always common, but in Gen 9 they're particularly common. So after all that hard work trying to get this guy on the field in position to start posing a threat, it's pretty easy to stop it. Another downside to Maushold is that each of these 10 hits make contact with the enemy, so something like a Rocky Helmet is an absolute disaster. If you use Population Bomb against a Rocky Helmet Corviknight can shrug off the damage pretty well, and you are slowly going to perish, as Rocky Helmet chip damage applies to all 10 of these hits of Population Bomb. And contact effects like Flame Body also really punish Maushold, with each individual hit having a chance to proc the effect. Ghost types, which are also really common, give Maushold a hard time too. Even though you have Bite for super effective coverage, which receives the Technician boost coming to 90 base power, not bad. The problem is that your attack stat is so low that Gholdengo and Dragapult can pretty easily shrug this off and probably KO with a high power Make It Rain or Draco Meteor follow-up. Even though Tidy Up is a very reliable form of hazard removal, Maushold is not exactly bulky enough to operate as a defensive utility Pokemon either. Maushold has lived in UU for most of the generation, where it's been decent as a win condition / utility Pokemon, but recently it fell down to RU with more and more Pokemon being introduced, outclassing it, pushing it down in usage further. I guess you could say Maushold is struggling to find a household for itself in the competitive singles world. But despite being ranked all the way down in RU, VicBossMG welcomed Maushold with open arms into his team, and they've achieved impressive results together. And what's amazing about this Maushold choice is that it's not just a random pick for fun. Maushold has an important purpose on this team, and due to recent metagame developments, it's actually not a bad choice in OU right now. As you may or may not know, Ribombee is an OU ranked Pokemon right now, and is currently one of the most popular enablers for hyper offense with its Sticky Web set. This is the best Sticky Web setter in the game right now, not only because it's fast, it can set the webs reliably, it also has Stab Moonblast and a decent enough special attack stat to threaten Great Tusk, who is one of the most popular rapid spinners, who might try to remove your Sticky Web. Now from the beginning, Gen 9 OU has been a very offensively oriented metagame with some of the most powerful threats we've ever seen in the franchise. But recently it's skewing even more offensive, thanks to the addition of Ribombee, the most reliable Sticky Web setter yet, the presence of Gholdengo, which incentivizes hazard stacking, Rillaboom, which enables the Sneasler Grassy Terrain combo, Alolan Ninetales, which creates Aurora Veil, supporting setup sweepers, It's just a very aggressive metagame right now. Maushold is actually a great counter lead against Ribombee. Not only does it have a form of hazard removal that cannot be stopped by Gholdengo, it also has Population Bomb, a multi-hit move that can KO Ribombee even through its Focus Sash. You can choose to Sticky Web if you want, but you're going to faint in the process, and all Maushold needs is a single free turn to remove those hazards and completely ruin your whole game plan. And on these all-in aggressive Sticky Web teams, you're not probably going to see a Rocky Helmet Corviknight or a Moltres who has fallen in popularity down to UU. Maushold is a bit less threatened by these contact effects that plagued it in the past, and in fact, Maushold's Population Bomb is really dangerous against a lot of the common threats being used on these offensive teams right now. VicBoss also mentions here that there's a bit of a 50-50 situation where you can punish them if they go to a ghost type. If you use Tidy Up, you're now threatening a boosted Bite, which is great against something like Dragapult or Gholdengo. Even if they live, you have a 30% flinch chance, and if you happen to break through their ghost type, all of a sudden your Population Bomb is even more threatening than it was before, plus you're boosted up and outrunning everything. Another great tool that Maushold has is Encore, which is a really good move in the current metagame. Encore can punish King Gambit by locking them into Swords Dance or Sucker Punch, leaving them completely vulnerable. Maushold is actually also quite fast, so it can outrun Manaphy, force them to repeat Tail Glow, Take Heart, or Acid Armor, moves like that. You can even outrun a Gholdengo and force them to Shadow Ball into you since you're immune, leaving them completely vulnerable. So the mere presence of Maushold is not only supporting you against those Sticky Web bleeds, it's also forcing a 50-50 situation against a King Gambit win condition. They can't safely click Swords Dance or Sucker Punch for risk of Maushold coming in freely and encoring them, not only stopping their sweep, leaving them totally vulnerable, but giving itself free turns to Tidy Up, Population Bomb, and start wreaking havoc. There is still the issue of those Rocky Helmet users, which are less common in the current metagame, but you do still see them, and it's important to cover that matchup in some way, with some kind of game plan. And that's why Weavile is actually a great teammate. Even though Weavile is ranked UU right now, it's been rising in popularity quite a bit in OU, for the same reasons it's always been good. It's fast, it has a great attack stat, a very powerful Dark Ice Stab combination, Swords Dance and Ice Shard for extra pressure and flexibility, and of course access to the ever valuable knockoff, which previously it lost but it regained in the DLC. A part of the reason for Weavile's surge in popularity was because of the presence of Gliscor. With not that many offensive ice types in the format, Weavile rose up to threaten Gliscor more effectively and also fill other gaps like priority, fast threat. But even without Gliscor in the metagame anymore now that it's banned, Weavile is still solid. And knockoff is the key thing that supports Maushold here, because Weavile invites in those Rocky Helmet physical walls that Maushold would also invite in. And Weavile crucially removes their Rocky Helmet, paving the way for Maushold to click Population Bomb to its heart's content. These Pokemon make a great duo. Or should I say quartet, because the Maushold is in fact 3 Pokemon, acting as one family unit. That's one of the best questions I've ever asked, and at the moment I don't have an answer. But what I do know is that this team by VicBoss is great. I think it's really creative. Maushold is a beautiful adaptation to the current Sticky Web metagame, and it fits well. Usually when some niche off-meta Pokemon finds itself in OU, it's because it ticks a lot of boxes at once. It fills a lot of gaps, which this Maushold does. This is hazard removal that works against Gholdengo, an anti-lead against Sticky Web setters, and an Encore utility Pokemon that can stop King Gambit sweeps, and a threat in itself that can get a lot of good value and pave the way for your remaining team members to finish things off sometimes if it doesn't win the game on its own. And most importantly of all, this team teaches us the importance of strong family values. When you're operating as one strong family unit, Maushold can find a household anywhere, whether it be RU or OU. I'll link the team down below if you'd like to try it, as well as the Smogon Thread with a good write-up on all the Pokemon choices, tips for using the team, and even example replay. Thanks, folks. Thank you to the patrons for your continued support, and thank you as well to everyone who has donated to my Gen 3 OU tournament, ADV Revival.
Whoa! KO'd by one hit! It scattered spikes!
The money got different, cause of what I'm spending.